All right, welcome to another episode of Movies That Make Us. I'm Jake.
I'm Tracy.
And I'm Val.
And we are live. I
Yay!
mean, not like the rock band Live, although Tracy, you could pass for the singer from Live.
Ed Kowalczyk.
Yeah.
That was a good show that I saw at Salt Air.
Wow.
They put on
Back
a heck of a
in
good show.
high school.
Yep.
Salt Air. So
Yep,
many.
I was there.
So many bands.
Like,
would
was
come
it
through
Live in Soul Asylum or Live in
Mhm.
something like
Yep.
that? Yeah.
And Club DV8. You remember DV8? I alone love you.
There. Yeah. See, perfect. We are live. There we go. It's perfect. Perfect.
I alone. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good song. I'm
we
going to have to
just
listen to that.
They just reunited. Put out a
Just
new
one
EP.
more
It's pretty
time?
good.
Does it
Did it-
feel so
Yep.
good?
I was just going to say it. You beat me to it. Oh, man.
Well done, folks.
All right. Well, today we are talking about the feel-good comedy of 2019, Parasite. No, it really isn't. It is a comedy. It's a very dark comedy, obviously.
It's
but
a very dark comedy.
it obviously
Yeah.
it also transcends a lot of genre boundaries and lines and everything. It's not a straight up anything. It is just it's Parasite.
I mean, it won all the awards.
Mm-hmm. It
And
did.
warning, if you haven't seen it, go check it out and then come back and watch
Yeah.
this because we're going to be posting it. Because the less you know about this movie in advance, the better.
Absolutely. And I kind of compared it when we were talking about it briefly on Saturday, that it's kind of like Sixth Sense, where people really didn't talk about it very much beforehand. And so it kind of, which was good. It kept it pristine. It didn't ruin it for me when I saw it, much like Sixth Sense. So we don't want to ruin it for anybody. If you haven't seen it, then please go and see it and then come back and listen or come back and watch, because
And it is streaming, so you can find it
Yeah.
pretty much everywhere right now.
yeah. And
Yep.
I think if you've got Hulu, which if you haven't
Yep.
invested in getting Hulu yet, along with your Netflix and Disney Plus, you probably should, because you're going to run out of stuff eventually. So, Hulu
I'm
will
happy
help.
that my sister invested in Hulu.
Yeah.
I got Hulu for free from my phone. My phone subscription gave me a free Hulu subscription. I'm like, all
Nice.
right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice. We did it. We
So-
did the whole Hulu Disney Plus package with ESPN
Hmm.
Plus, and we've used ESPN Plus all of like twice, maybe.
There are
But,
times.
Is
but
it because there
Hulu
are
and
absolutely no sports?
no, even
You can
before
go
that.
watch rock skipping.
Yeah, perfect. Even before
They
they
had the National Spelling Bee Championships last weekend.
wow. But it wasn't
Yeah, from like
was it like remote? Like, so each of them were like on a Zoom
no, this
call
was
kind
like
of a thing?
1997.
Okay.
Oh, when I graduated high school.
So there's an old show on that was on ESPN Classics called Cheap Seats. And it had these twin brothers that were comedians, and they would watch
Oh, yeah, the
old
Sklar
sporting
brothers.
Yes, the Sklar brothers, and they would watch old sporting events, and one of them that they did was the spelling bee, and they just ripped. It was awesome. It was. I mean, they weren't mean to the kids, because that would be,
right.
not
That'd
cool,
be too
but,
much.
But it
Yeah.
was really, really good. Anyway, but we're not talking about cheap seats or spelling bees. We're talking about Parasite.
We get distracted so easily.
We do something shiny. It doesn't even have to be shiny. Like, we can just, whatever.
If it's a
It can be
tangent, we're
dull.
taking it.
Yeah,
Yep.
we'll definitely do it. So this was a very, I didn't know what to expect when I saw this movie. I knew that it was going to be all in Korean. There's not a dubbed version out there. I don't think. I couldn't find one.
Which I'm
Which
okay
is-
with.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that.
Don't go with dubbed. I hate dubbed movies.
Yeah.
I like dubstep.
And who doesn't, really?
A lot of people.
That's probably true. But it is all in Korean, so I knew that, but I really just didn't know what the story was. And when you try to figure it out, it is hard to find. So how would you synopsis of the story of the movie
I mean,
at its core?
So I feel like the story is, it starts out as this family that's just trying to survive Like a lot of families, but obviously they're a lot more poor than most. They live in a kind of a poor area. So they're trying to figure out how to survive, how to kind of like step up life. And they just kind of have this monotonous life of they all come home, they're eating really weird food around the table, and they're all like, okay, what did you actually do today? Like, most people do, but they're this is a hard place to find jobs, keep jobs. They want to kind of get out of the area that they're in. And so, they're trying to figure out how to just get a step ahead and kind of stay above water. And so you kind of think, okay, this is going to be kind of like a feel good, like trying to get a step up in the world for
Move
the
up the
underdog.
ladder.
And then all of a sudden,
Yeah, it is.
like it
becomes
goes.
a horror film.
It becomes a horror film. Like I knew that it was a dark comedy, and everyone kept on telling me that it was you're not going to know where this movie goes because it goes in a way different direction than you're going to expect it. And it switches directions a lot.
Yeah,
like
it really does.
It's going one way, then it goes another way, and then boom, it hits you with something else. And you're like, no way. I had so many moments when I was watching the movie. Like you can predict a few things and then they hit you with things that are so unpredictable. Like, and this is a spoiler show. So, I mean, the fact that there was somebody living in that house behind the wall downstairs, I didn't see that coming at all.
Well,
because there's so much deception. It's this very deceptive movie. They're deceiving the audience. They're deceiving each other. It's just a lot of deception, and all for kind of the right reasons. I don't think they meant to like harm anyone, but they found a niche. This family found a niche on how they could get their family up a notch in the world. And they were very creative. So the main kid, he becomes a tutor. And he shouldn't be tutoring anyone. That's like me tutoring someone on English, like on spelling. Like nobody wants that. But could I pretend to do it for the right amount of money? Sure could. And then they figure out how to get more of the family members in the house. And there's just so many lies that they have to follow that it's a little exhausting.
Well, I think part of it is because the host family, the family who they kind of infiltrate, they're very likable people.
Oh yeah,
they are
very nice people.
I mean, they're kind of bougie.
They are, but they're kind of gullible. They're kind of sweet and innocent.
Well,
in a lot of ways, or at least so you think, until we find out that there's a guy in the basement.
Well, but I don't think the family didn't know the guy was in the basement, which sounds like it's even worse, actually. Like that somehow makes it worse.
I feel like that family, so you've got the wife, the husband, and the two kids, right? And I feel like the wife, she has no idea what is going on anywhere. Like she is kind of ditzy. She wants to try and do well and do good. But like, is somebody really that? Don't want to say stupid, but stupid. Like, I feel like she's not really trying to do anything, right? And then the dad, he's got some weird quirks about him. But I feel like if you're rich, you kind of have to have some subtle things that you follow to trust the people that are around you, because obviously when you're rich, especially in a country like that, people are going to try and take advantage of you.
Yeah. The family was interesting to me because I think the one thing that I did know about Parasite going in is that it was about the difference in classes and things like that. And so I anticipated that you were really not going to like the host family at all, but they were a lot more likable than you would think. And the dad, I mean, he was rich and he was out of touch with the not rich people and the poor, but he wasn't unkind necessarily.
No,
he was, I think he was trying to do right by his employees, both at the firm and at home. But they were just out of touch. And the mom, especially the wife, was incredibly out of touch. I agree.
I think maybe she was also just bored. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It
Well, and I think
happened.
part of it too is you kind of tune out, and if I don't see it, it doesn't affect me, so I'll just kind of ignore it and not give it any
Yeah.
precedence.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
But
then you got the housekeeper who threw us the biggest curveball ever. Like we're
Yes.
thinking the family that we're thinking that the mom and the dad, you know, of the other family and you know that whole they're throwing us curveballs, but here's this housekeeper who has been in this house forever. She works for this family almost 24 hours a day, caters to them. It feels like it's a part of the family, but all the time she was just taking care of herself.
Right.
Like it's like I feel like this poor family never had anybody looking out for them. They were just,
right,
you know, but in a country like that, you have to find a way to live. And this lady
but
did. So the
but
housekeeper,
I don't think it's relegated just to that kind of third world country.
yeah,
Well,
That sort of thing happens in every society, which I think is one of the points of the movie.
yeah,
yeah. I agree. I think there are definitely people here in the US that are completely and totally that out of touch.
oh yeah, I agree.
By comparison, my wife and I were watching Clueless the other day. Granted, totally different movie, but like Cher, the main character in the movie, she is completely and totally and absolutely out of touch with anything that would be normal. Or, I mean, you watch it and you figure this is in mid 90s and the technology that she's using and what she has and she's completely like out of touch. And I think that happens anywhere and everywhere, and probably even more here in the US than we would even think that it would.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you take it out and you expand it a little bit, and you have issues of the family, the main family that we're following, lives partially underground.
Yep, in
And
a
I
semi
love how
basement.
he tells this story visually so beautifully. And they think that they're as low can go. They're having to hold their phones up to turn to the ceiling to try and get Wi-Fi. Their apartment gets fumigated. The guy's urinating right out front of their window. And then they've learned, so they're kind of feeding off of this other family. And then they learn that there's a whole nother group that's actually below them. And now they have to oppress those people just like they were being oppressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then what finally pushes them over the edge, you know, finding out what this family that they've been working for, and really, I mean, other than the whole dishonesty and deception part, they were really working hard for this family. I mean, he was a good driver. The mom was doing a good job keeping house. They were doing the stuff and they were working hard. But then as they're hiding under the table during that scene, and he talks about how it smells like Mr. Kim, and you know, haven't you noticed he's got that weird smell? And then earlier,
the details, how they introduced that early on in the movie. They
yes,
talk
with the
about
kid.
smell a lot in the movie. They talk about it
Yes.
almost right from the beginning, and it's this constant, these little details that they throw into this
He's setting you
storytelling.
up.
Yeah.
Yep. And you know, that's kind of in the end what really pushes him over the edge is that disdain that really they have for these underclass, lower class people. It's interesting.
I do love, like, they do throw some humor in there, like some regular humor in there every once in a while, like when the family decides that they're going to do a job together as putting together those pizza boxes, and they're like so bad at it. Like, how can you be bad at putting pizza boxes together? And they're working for like a 12-year-old. She shows up to collect the pizza boxes, and she's younger than all of them, and she throws them back in their face like, what is this? Like, this is horrible. You know, and so I just like, there's these little, you know, humor things that I think they throw in there. And, but the details, like each character really does have their own personality. You know, the kid that he's the main kid. I think he is such a strong actor because the things that he does, it's just like little, I think he's the most, I would say, I think he has the most grasp on reality than anyone in his family other than his sister. I think his parents are just kind of, out there. But, when he gets this idea from his friend, like his friend's like, hey, you can go and tutor for me while I'm gone. And his friend is in love with the girl that he's going to go tutor. And he's like, when I get back from school, I'm, going to officially ask her out. And then he falls in love with her, but he is very detail oriented from the beginning. And then he kind of masterminds this whole idea about how he can get his sister there into being, the younger brother's tutor slash, whatever. And then getting the dad in there as the driver. Sorry, I have a pug at my house right now that's barking.
Sorry,
we're all doing this from home right now, people.
I've got 6 kids at home, so it's a miracle we haven't really heard them a whole lot.
The mom of their family, who seems, and I'm sorry if you get mad at me, she seems the laziest out of all of them. When you go to their actual house, that's the underground house, she's always the one that's sitting around and kind of eating and asking everyone else what they did today. And her box folding was the worst. And then he gets her the housekeeper gig, which is like the busiest gig of all of them. And she's like, I want you to make this food. And she's like, I don't know how to cook, but she's got to make all of this food. I kind of like in that moment when all of that, her kitchen, job, I couldn't stop thinking of Lucy, when Lucy on the TV show would get put in these situations. And I'm like, what humor is coming? She's going to start stuffing, food. I don't know. I really went to I Love Lucy in that moment. Okay, here's this mom, but she's never really lived in a house or been in a situation where she's had to cook meals because they just don't live that kind of life, right? They eat whatever they can bring home, and it's usually add hot water, right?
Right.
And so to me, that was very comical, even though it wasn't in your face comedy. It was, these little details of the laziest person of this whole family gets the job that contains the most work and the most attention to detail. And she's so frustrated by the fact that she even has to wear fancy clothes to do this job instead of sweats, So to me, that was comical that he picked that, And then I really loved the casting of the housekeeper. I just thought she was great, and when you see her come back in the camera, when you see her come back in the camera at the house, it's pouring rain outside, and she's like, "Hey, I left some stuff," and they all just had a party in the house, like they're eating and drinking and everything, and it's all over the place. Yeah, she didn't just leave a couple things in the basement. She left her husband in the basement for 3 days without food and water.
So that was an interesting point for me because as they're doing that, and she's explaining, oh yeah, a lot of these older mansions have these bomb shelters because they're worried about nuclear bombs from North Korea. And I thought, well, that makes sense. Like for us, it's weird because like we don't build a lot of mansions with bomb shelters or panickers. Maybe I think there's.
I don't build any mansions. Yeah,
well, no, that's true.
Bruce Wayne has a bat cave.
Yeah, that's true, which is like the ultimate panic room. But if it was so normal, like you would think that this family would have asked, like as they were buying it, like where is the bomb shelter in the basement? You know what I mean? Like, but they didn't. So I'm like, is it really that? I don't know. That part was weird for me. But obviously they didn't know that he was down there living. And what was interesting about him living down there too is he was like totally happy with his job and like respected the owner of the house and like. Because he put food on his table, even though they were like kind of stealing it and taking it under the table and, things like that. But like, he still respected that that's where his food and that's where everything came from. It was really interesting on class structure, the whole commentary.
Yeah. Well, and it's the question of who's the actual parasite. Is it the poor people trying to mooch off the rich people? Is it the rich people who are taking advantage of the poor people? And making them serve them? Is it the society that allows that to happen? There's just so many different layers to this film in that regard in the thematic structure.
Yeah, it definitely, there were a lot of surprises, which was really nice. And people that are like, well, I don't want to read a movie. You like within the first 10 minutes, it just becomes a natural thing that you're doing. I don't feel like it takes away from it at all. And they do such a great job of storytelling, just with the way that they, like, the cinematography was fantastic. The coloring of the
That's
film really fit
fabulous.
in the way that the coloring of the film, where they live, in kind of the downtown area where everybody's stacked on top of each other, is very different coloring than when you get to the suburban home, where it's kind of like you're now in Oz and everything's a little more technicolor and crisp, and it's not so gray and dull and watered down. They do such a great job that you automatically just follow the story. So if that's something that, you're not into, and that's why you're not going to watch this film, or you didn't follow through with it, or you didn't like it, I kind of feel like, if a great movie like this, you get past it. I would rather read it than, I can't stand dubbed movies, even if they're done really well. I can't do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I had no problem with the subtitles. We watch a lot of movies with captions and subtitles at our house, and so for me, it wasn't a big deal. I do struggle with it just from the aspect that there's a lot of people. I'm a big proponent of there being more open caption films for those individuals with hearing loss or who are deaf. I think that we need to make that more available for them, because it is a much more enjoyable way for them to view a movie. But a lot of people argue against it, and it's distracting to have the captioning on there, whatever. But then this movie came out and everybody's like, oh, it's so good, everybody has to go see this movie. And yeah, it's subtitles, but it's fine. It won't even bother you. So, but
go ahead.
But I hope that something like that, it does open up people's minds, and they can realize, oh no, it's not that bad to watch a movie with subtitles on. And you really don't notice after a while.
Dave, did you care that there was subtitles for Parasite?
No, I thought it was really good.
Dave, my boyfriend, and I both really enjoyed this film.
Yeah.
We were both, I think, pleasantly surprised about this film. Oh, he's going to sneak in.
Hey, Dave.
Dave.
Oh, hey, Dave.
So we were both a little hesitant to watch this film, because there was so much hype about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And and I didn't get to go screen it for the press screening. And so we watched it as soon as it was streaming. I think we paid for it. And we were both pleasantly surprised at how amazing this film was. And I know you said it was kind of like Sixth Sense, where it sets you up, but a lot of people can't watch Sixth Sense again because you're already set up. And I think with this film, there are so many details and so much action and so many. I could watch this movie again because I feel like I missed so much the first time just following along the basic story, because there were so many different things happening that I didn't see coming, that I could totally watch it again to then really appreciate those moments, because I know I missed something. Like, this filmmaker just put so many different details. I mean, can we talk about the party scene for a minute at the end of the film? Because I feel like in that scene, there's so much going on, but yet at the same time, everything's coming full circle in this scene. And from there on out, it is just, I'm going to use my one swear, it's a shit show, but like amazing, right?
Yeah.
Can we talk about this scene? Holy cow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when I saw the movie opening night in Salt Lake, and when that scene hit, I was both horrified and hysterical. I thought it was so funny and over the top and crazy. And at the same time, I'm like, I should not find this amusing.
Because something bad is going to happen, because every single one of the characters, except, the housekeeper is in there somewhere, but every single one of the characters in the movie, literally all of them, are now under the same roof together. So know something is going to go wrong. And in your mind, you're thinking, okay, somehow the brother and the sister are going to get outed. Somehow the dad's going to get outed. Somehow the mom.
Somebody's going to get caught.
And they can't, they're going to get caught, and they can't all really communicate because their plan is now unraveling and they have no control over it. And there's a whole bunch of people there. And so all these bad things can happen, but I never expected what happened to happen. Does someone want to explain this scene?
Oh my goodness. Well, and it's hard to explain, but it is the moment when everything comes unraveling, right? They're doing a birthday party because normally they travel for the son's birthday. But they got rained out. Which, can we talk about the fact that this is the day after the family has lost everything? Their sub basement apartment is gone. They slept in some refugee setup, and then they're getting called to come and plan and put together this last minute.
They pulled clothes out of a bag in a gymnasium to wear to this posh birthday party, right?
And just that juxtaposition that they're like, oh, it rained last night, but we're going to have this party. And then the other family's like lost everything, including the possibly magical rock. And
we haven't even talked about the magic rock yet.
I know, but then they're having this party, and the dad is going to go with the husband, and they're going to be these Native Americans that are going to jump out and attack the daughter, who is going to be, the son's going to rescue him and whatever. So it's this whole plan. And then the guy from the basement shows up shouting the mom's name. And that's when all hell breaks loose. I mean, there's no other way to describe it.
Well, and it's like the whole time too, the main dad, not the dad from the posh house, but the main dad, who he's a little ticked off because he hears his boss talk about the way he smells and talk about how, maybe he's not necessarily the driver that he wants. Right. And so he's got it in the back of his mind that now he's just ticked. It's like eating away at him, and he's off hiding in the bushes as it's just eating away and eating away and eating away at him. And I mean, I expected him to be angry, but something just freaking.
Well, and it's the moment when the guy who attacked him from the basement is rolled over on his keys, and they're like, we've got to get to the hospital. Because earlier they set up the whole thing that the son only has so many minutes to get to the hospital or else he's going to die. But the keys are under this dead guy who smells bad. And so the dad's like plugging his nose as he's trying to roll him over and get the keys. And that is what sets the main dad off, is that he thinks that he smells too. And that's it. Like he connects all those dots and then kills him.
Everybody's got something that'll get him on top of a clock tower. And for that guy, it was that. He just lost it. I did not expect it. I think the only other movie that I can compare the ending of this is Get Out. Because the movie Get Out, I did not expect the ending of that movie to end like that.
Right.
And that surprised me. This surprised me more than that.
Yeah, I didn't expect this ending. I expected everything to fall apart and unravel. I expected them to be outed, like you said, Val, and like everybody would know what was going on. I did not expect this at all.
Well, I felt like, so as they're trying to, as the family, the main family is trying to figure out what to do with the guy in the basement and what to do with the old housekeeper. I felt like that whole scene of them trying to get like one ahead of the other was like a scene from Clue. Like if you were to take the sound out of that scene and you were to put like music behind it of them running through the house and then smacking people down the stairs and then folding them up in between the door and like all this, like if you were to put different music to that, it would be hilarious. But the way they did it, I mean, obviously we're just like, oh my gosh, like
what is going on?
What situation would you have to, like, what are the dire straits situation that you would have to be in that it would be okay to harm someone or kill someone, in any of these ways, but again, it is these little dark comedies that make you think of other situations in other movies that, again, if you just changed the sound, it would be funny, but the way that they do it, it's not. You're just stunned with what's going on.
Yeah. Well, and of course you've got the whole comparison too, where, the main dad, part of what he's panicked about is, they're trying to get like his daughter's just been stabbed and she's dying and she's bleeding out. And at the same time, the family's like, no, Mr. Kim, what are you doing? Get in the car. We've got to get our son to the hospital. We don't care about these other people.
Right.
These other people have been stabbed and they're dying and they're dead. We don't care. They're not as important as us. Right. And I think ultimately that was that. And then the smelling and all of that, it was a very powerful statement.
Yeah, he felt less than, you know, he made him feel less than. And that's the whole reason that they were there, is because they didn't want to feel that way anymore. And now their whole plan with the magic rock and prosperity and doing better, it just came back in their faces. But I mean, if they would have done it the right way, would all of this had happened? You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of karma, man, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, if the son had actually just done the tutoring like he was supposed to, I mean, granted, he had to falsify papers and had to lie about his credentials and all of that, but I think he had the skills to actually tutor her. I mean, he had some kind of skills. Yeah. And then maybe none of this would have happened, but instead he saw this as an opening to make their life better. And I don't know if you're in that situation, what lengths are you willing to go to make that happen for your family?
Just the peach alone, like the lady being allergic to peaches, and then like that alone, that's just wrong. Yeah. Like the details of what these people did to just make this lady's life miserable, and the lies that they put into it. Yeah. It's just exhausting. The amount of lies in this movie is exhausting.
It is.
Yeah, very much.
Hard to keep track of. So this film won Best Picture for the at the Academy Awards, which is a huge deal, right? I mean, I don't know that there's ever been a foreign film.
It made history because it won Best Picture and Best Foreign Film.
Right. And I think going into it, I anticipated it was going to win Best Foreign Picture just because of all the talk and everything, but because that was just so unprecedented, I was surprised that it won Best Picture. But was it deserving? Was it deserving of Best Picture?
The most original film that was made last year. Was it my favorite movie last year? No, but I do think that it was the most original story. It was very creative, because if you think about it, the amount of locations in this film was maybe all of 5 locations, 5 or 6 locations for this whole film, but it's told such a massive story. The cinematography was great. The sound was great. The actors were fantastic. And we don't know who any of these people are in America. I mean, most of us don't, right? So, I mean, I think it deserved it. I really do, because a lot of the other stories that I enjoyed, I kind of had seen somewhat of those movies before, you know? Like my favorite movie was Ford versus Ferrari, but was it as original and groundbreaking as this film? No. It was a totally different film.
Good.
But I'm going to watch Ford versus Ferrari over and over and over again, whereas this one I'll probably watch maybe 1 or 2 more times, and then in a couple of years I might watch it again on a whim. You know what I mean? But I do think it was a very well made movie. The details were fantastic. And again, I like the fact that it was original. You know, this is not a movie that, in America at least, I mean, I don't watch a ton of foreign films, but it was very original. Now they say they're going to do a series based on this film. I don't know if that needs to happen.
So it's interesting because they're also doing another one of his films, Snowpiercer, on TNT. And they said with this one, with Parasite, it's basically and he is going to be one of the executive producers on it, which gives me more hope for it. But he said it's just going to allow him to expand more on ideas that he had that he couldn't fit into the movie. Yeah. So he feels it'll be more of like a fleshed out, not a recreation.
See, and I feel like I learned enough, because even at the end of the movie, it leaves you wondering what happened. Like, did it happen this way or that way? You know what I mean? It kind of, for me at least, it kind of leaves you with, okay, did they find the dad? Did he buy that house? Did everything turn out okay, or did it not?
Right.
I don't think it did.
No, I don't think so either.
He kind of leaves you to wonder, and I like that better than fleshing it all out into a big long series.
Well, and
I think I liked just knowing enough.
Yeah. Well,
about
and
each
so is it going to be telling the same story over an extended amount of time where he's going to add more things into it and we're going to get more details?
That's my understanding. Yes.
And it's going to be Americanized, or is it going to still see? And I don't know. It'll depend on how they do it. And it depends on how dark comedy they make it, or if they try to make it sitcom-y, which I hope they don't.
I think it's going to be on HBO, isn't it, Val?
I don't know.
So it'll be Parasite with boobs then.
I think it's HBO, but only in the first part of the season, and then they stop.
Yeah.
Can that be the title of this podcast, Parasite with Boobs?
I'll work on it.
Jake, the fact that you said that and not me makes me feel a little bit better about life right now.
I'm glad I could help. I
want that on a shirt, Parasite with Boobs. Nobody will know. They'll just quit. What are you talking about?
Be like, okay.
That's awesome.
but I think with it, I think it is going to be on HBO.
I don't know what you're talking about. So it'll be
So I think that you're going to get more of that dark comedy. I think it's going to depend a lot on the script, and a lot of it's going to depend on the actors. It'll be interesting to see who they get. I hope they don't get a bunch of big names. I hope that it's relative unknowns that they bring in. But I think
I love that guy, the guy who played the dad, not the main dad, not the dad in the house. I really like him.
He's been in all of his movies.
He is such a striking actor. There is something about him that I just can't, I'm drawn to him in some weird way. I can't explain it, but I just really like that guy.
Yeah, he's kind of like the guy with Pixar. I can't think of his name all of a sudden. The guy that's been in all the movies.
Yeah.
It's
Cliff
kind of like that
from Cheers.
Yes,
John
Ratzenberg.
Yes.
Yeah. So his name is Song Kang Ho, and I really like him.
Yeah, he was really good. It'll be interesting to see what they do with a series and how they play it out.
Well, I think that there's, like I said, this is not a culture-specific film.
No, it's
not. This could
not.
very easily be translated into an American version, and we've got plenty that we can criticize with our own society. So I think that'd be very interesting to see. I'm interested to check it out. I hope that it's good. I hope it lives up to it. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to do a fallback, maybe a callback to Parasite once the season has come out and we've watched a few episodes, kind of come back and check in and maybe just do a live about it and kind of review it or something, because it'll be super interesting to see. I don't know. I'm not excited about it. I really like the fact that it takes place in a different place that I'm not familiar with, because it adds just a little more mystery for me. And I also kind of felt like I was learning more about a place that I haven't been to. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's different enough for me that it pulls me in. I really like different. I really like seeing different and not the same thing over and over and over again. And if we bring it and we Americanize it, I just feel like it's not as special. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, and
I might be totally wrong. I might watch it and just eat my words, but
it could very well be very, very good and very well done. And I'm sure that they'll put all the money and backing behind it to make that happen. Some stories lend themselves to a movie, and some stories lend themselves more to a series. And I worry that if you take a movie that is this well written and is this tight in the story that it tells and try to stretch that out even over a season's worth of episodes and stories, does it lose a little bit of that integrity of the story? You know what I mean? Does it lose a little bit of the flavor?
The thing to remember too is a lot of the episodes, when they do a series on HBO, they're like 8 to 10 episodes. So it's not like a typical TV series where you'd get like 20 plus episodes.
Sure. But even at 8 to 10 episodes, that's
of an hour,
4 to
10 hours,
5 times as long as this a movie was, right? I mean, the movie was what,
Right.
2+, just north of 2?
Yeah, it was. And it didn't even seem as long as it was because it was 132 minutes. And I felt like it moved at such a great pace that I was really impressed at the pace. Again, this movie really impressed me. And I think I can't think of anything that needed to be cut short. Usually out of a movie,
Right.
I'm like, okay, this movie was good, but I would have cut 15, 20, 30 minutes out of it, you know? And there are some movies that I enjoy a lot, and I still think that you need to cut, you know, you could clean it up and cut 15 to 20 minutes out of it. But this movie, I feel like it was almost perfect in the way that it was made, and the story that they gave us, and the pace of the film kept you like leaning forward in your seat and wanting more. Like, I don't think there was a time while I was watching the film that I was kind of like, okay, like,
pull out my phone.
Let's go. I had enough of this, you know. I don't
Right.
remember feeling that way at all.
Yeah. No, I think it was a really good movie. I think it won the awards that it won for good reason, and deservedly so. I'm with you, Val. I think this was probably the best movie last year. I don't know that it was my favorite movie, though. I think I would rather go back
100%.
and watch. I loved Ford versus Ferrari is a great one. Jojo Rabbit was another one that I would probably go back and watch again and again. Whereas this one, I think you watch it a couple of times and it's still good and it holds up, but it's not one that you're necessarily like, what am I in the mood for? Oh, I know, Parasite. Let's throw that on there. I mean, maybe so. Maybe other people will disagree, but that's kind of where I'm at with it.
I'll kind of give you
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, kind of in a similar vein, Seven was on cable or satellite yesterday on BBC America, and I hadn't seen that film in years, and I watched it, and then I was like, there's a reason why it's been a couple of years, because it's brilliant. But man, is that thing a rough
Seven
ride.
is a fantastic movie, but I got to talk myself into watching it because it puts you in a headspace.
I'm like, I need to, So it's kind of the same way. It's not as dark as Seven was, but it's kind of that same thing. Is it's not something where you're like, hey, let's just throw this on. You got to kind of commit to the story. You got to commit to reading the film. You got to commit to the story.
Yeah, I kind of want to go back and watch it and just fast forward to the whole choreographed sequence of the basement, you know, of them trying to get out of the basement and all, because a lot of those camera shots were one camera shot for a while and then clip it to another area. And it's just this trying to build on top of it, you know, trying to get out, pulling the other one. Like, that was such a brilliant scene. And you are surprised minute after minute about, and you're just like, you know, like, what's going to happen next to these people?
Well, you could almost
such a brilliant scene.
You could almost watch this movie with no sound and still follow along with the story because it's visually told so well.
Yeah.
So we've agreed that it probably was deserving of the awards that it got. What grade would you give Parasite?
I'll give it a B+. I think it's a solid movie, but again, I can't give it an A because you guys know that I give things an A when I can watch them over and over. I will watch this movie again within the next couple of months so that I can, because I want to see what I didn't miss. But again, it will be one of those movies that I will come back to, but not after a while. It's not like, hey, it's Friday night again, I want to watch something. Like, I could probably watch I've been pissed that Ford versus Ferrari is not streaming yet. Like, you can get it at Redbox, but it's not streaming. And if it was streaming, I'd be watching it once a week right now because it just makes me feel so good. Whereas I respect Parasite. I respect everything they did in the movie, but again, I just can't watch it over and over. So I give it a B+, which is still a fantastic grade. I do think it deserved all of the awards. And I would recommend watching it with the sound and then watching it without the sound, just so that you can really appreciate the editing and the cinematography of this film.
Yeah, the direction, the editing, the cinematography is absolutely stellar. I'm going to go A- on it. It's kind of along the same lines as Val said. It's not something I can just like kick back and enjoy. But in terms of technical, in terms of the storytelling, in terms of originality. It's really, really, really good.
Yeah.
What about you, Jake?
I would probably put it in that same range of an A- to B+. I think it's a really, really good movie. I think it's a solid movie. I've seen it once, and I can say, yeah, I really thought it was really well done. I don't know, Val, like you said, I don't know that I'd go back and watch it over and over again. But it definitely does what it should. It makes you feel what you're supposed to feel. It makes you question a lot of things.
Makes you think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's supposed to, and it accomplishes what it sets out to do. So I think it's a solid movie, and I think it deserved Best Picture of last year. For sure.
One of the reasons why I really love the fact that it won Best Picture and not just Best Foreign Film, and that it made the amount of money that it made at the box office, is that it really showed that it showed the studios and it showed the American audience that we are capable of liking more than just the movies that we're being fed every day. And that having an entire cast with no white people in it, like, I'm not making a race thing, but like, it was so different from our lives, but at the same time, I felt like I connected to the film. And it basically, whatever rumors, go around Hollywood or whatever that say you can't, cast a movie like this. It was just like when, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon won. It was, but that was such a long time ago. Like, why did it take this long, for a movie like this? And I mean, it was a fantastic film. Like, those are two really incredible movies. But I think it proved a point that needed to be made without slapping everybody in the face. It was a really good movie that deserved to win for no other reason that it was a really good movie.
Yeah.
Well, and I loved the all the memes that came out of the Oscar win, where it's like, look at your loved ones like he looks at his Oscar. You could tell that he was just so touched and so moved and so honored to be up there. He's a very, from what I've gathered in interviews and stuff, he's a very humble, very down to earth guy. Incredibly visionary filmmaker.
Yeah, Bong Joon-ho, I gotta say too, is like, I love his hair. He's got some great hair.
He's got really good hair. Yeah,
sorry.
And this
sorry.
This was like you mentioned, Val, it was a very original movie, a very different movie. And it was in a year where there were some of the traditional, normal Oscar type movies out there. I mean, 1917 was kind of a lot of people's pick to win Best Picture, just because it was an epic war movie.
Well, I mean, you have
love those
period pieces. You have three period pieces. You have this race car movie. Yeah, because you have Little Women and you have Jojo Rabbit, which are both period pieces. And Little Women, I mean, that kind of movie, anytime something like that happens, it's going to go to the Oscars. Jojo Rabbit, and then, like 1917, they were all great films. But again, I expected them all to be nominated.
Yeah.
And so for this film to get there, I mean, it was kind of, like, nobody expected Black Panther to make it last year. I didn't even expect Black Panther to get nominated for the big award. And I mean, I like the film, but I don't think it was Best Picture of the year. So I'm glad it got nominated, but I'm glad it didn't win, because, I think it was a great film, but not the Best Picture.
Yeah.
Whereas this film, I'm so glad it got nominated, and I'm glad it won Best Picture, because it, like we said, it deserved it in every single category. It deserved it.
Yep. All right. Well, that is the time we have for this episode. We want to thank everybody who joined us online live. We really appreciate that. We are going to continue to do some live videos. We will probably have another one on Saturday, like we did this last Saturday, where we're just kind of catching up, seeing what's going on, seeing how people are doing. This episode will also go into our podcast feed within the next day or two. We'll have that up, as well as just a regular episode. And
Parasite with boobs,
apparently. And we just appreciate you can follow us on Facebook, YouTube now. Please like and subscribe to us on YouTube. We appreciate that. And you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, all the places. And if Tracy said anything that you found overly offensive, please send that email to podcast at movies.
Probably going to be me this time with my comment about Black Panther.
Possible.
Well, and we also want to know, what movies do you want us to talk about?
Yes.
We've had a couple of people have made suggestions in the past, and we've done them. We did Titanic. We've done a couple others. Really, I think, and we were talking pre-show, and I think this needs to happen, the pirate movie. I think that has to occur.
Best worst movies.
Uh-huh.
I'm watching it tonight.
I had a crush on her when I was younger. Woo.
Me too.
Christy McNichol.
Pirate movie may be coming soon.
We have the same hair. Me and this guy.
That's true. You do.
Perfect. So now you just need to get a wig for Dave, and you guys are set for tonight after the pirate movie.
Oh, I have one. We're good.
Perfect. See, you're all set. So we will be back on Saturday, and as we talk on Saturday Live, maybe that's what we'll talk about. What are some movies you guys want to see us talk about or hear us talk about? Because we do both now. We're in your face in either way, either through the ear hole or the eye hole. We are in your face.
Whether you like it or not, we're here.
Yep. So, but thank you so much for listening, and we won't see you at the movies.
Bye.
Bye.